Hello EFD squad and welcome back to Continental Club, where we discuss the hottest topics in European football. Joining me are two of the hottest men on YouTube. It's Patrick Van Straten and DJ Lab. How are you, gentlemen?
I reckon my beard game is getting on Patty's levels.
Ooh, is Zach's beard game approaching those of Patrick Van Straten? Let us know in the poll just above early poll. It's going to be a hell of a show.
Needs a shape up.
Bringing back the noise. Last couple of Continental Clubs have been a bit quiet, but we're gearing up for the new season now. And we love football. And we love you. So let's do this. First question from Noble Tottenham. If Neymar doesn't move to Madrid this summer, has he ruined his career by moving to PSG? Noble Tottenham has gone in hard there. Patrick Van Straten, do you have anything as hard to reply with?
He hasn't ruined his career. He's obviously doing pretty well. Last season, wasn't it 32 goal involvements in 20 games, which was pretty tidy. But I do understand where he's coming from in the sense that for whatever reason, right now, a very good career in Ligue 1 is not rated as highly as a very good career in the Premier League or La Liga, or possibly even Serie A, which I think is kind of on the up again. If he were to stay there for the rest of his, prime years and be as outstanding as we know he can be, I don't think he'd get the same respect as if he went back to Spain. That said, he'd already won the treble when he arrived, but I think it would be a little bit of a waste. I want to see him test himself against the best opponents, and even Ligue 1's greatest defenders have to admit that the bottom tier of the league, defensively at least, is extremely poor. So I would like to see him, I'd obviously like to see him in the Premier League, I'd like to see him in Serie A. These are leagues where there's a little bit more depth. If he goes back to Real Madrid, I guess it would be Michael Laudrup-esque if he could take them to a Champions League. But I also am not sure that Real Madrid is a place you want to go at the moment.
Yeah.
It feels like you can only take steps back. It's extremely hard to take them forward.
They also seem a little bit more interested in Eden Hazard as opposed to shelling out 400 million, which is apparently what it would require to get Neymar out of PSG. And I was reading a Brazilian publication, UOL, Zach Jalab, and apparently several things are annoying Neymar about Ligue 1. Who would have thought he was such a petty, irritable character? He says the pitches aren't good enough. He's fouled far too often. He's actually fouled 5.2 times per game, which is significantly more than in La Liga, where he's fouled around 3.5 times per game. So maybe that is taking its toll a little bit. He also doesn't like staying at the hotel before games. The Barcelona players would meet up.
Well, this comes from a player who
various games
allegedly in his contract
before kick-off. Yeah, go on.
Said that the rule is in training you're not allowed to do slide tackles on it.
Well,
it's not. I don't think it's that much of a surprise, and I don't think I think he's still very young. Like, he will move. There's no chance Neymar finishes his career in Ligue 1 and just stays at PSG for the rest of his
He's 26 now,
career.
yeah.
Yeah, 26. He's
his
still got
peak
at
years.
least
That's 4 years left of his prime.
There's no way in those 4 years he stays at PSG. If he does, then 100% I agree with you. He's ruined his career. But I just don't see him staying at PSG, where I think the one aim he has is to win the Champions League with them, which I think they've got a very good chance of doing this year with Thomas Tuchel and Kylian Mbappe and Edison Cavani coming off great World Cups. And I just feel, where I would like to see him? The Premier League.
Yeah, sure.
But I think that's what we always want. We always want to see the top players in the Premier League. And I think the only realistic team that can afford him is, say, Manchester United. I don't really know currently if he'll fit into their system as well as we'd like to think. But Real Madrid, I just don't think it's going to happen this year. I don't think it'll happen next year, maybe the year after.
The only club in world football that could prize someone away from PSG at the moment is probably Real Madrid.
Sure.
Antero Henrique, who is PSG sporting director, has said, and this was before the World Cup actually, that he can see Neymar leaving not this season, but the season after. So maybe they've already conceded that he will be departing eventually, but it might happen in 2019. I think R9 said as much as well in this interview that I read in UOL.
And Tuchel said it as well, right? Didn't Tuchel say that the only player at PSG who's unsellable is Kylian Mbappe?
Oh, I thought he said he wanted to build his team around Neymar.
Really?
That was the headline quote.
He might have said these things as well, but I mean, he definitely said something along the lines of Mbappe being the only unsellable guy. And I think Mbappe is a much more kind of Tuchel player, so it makes sense that they'd say, you know what, we'll keep Neymar for this year. We'll have a good shot at the Champions League, and realistically, Neymar and Tuchel might not be a workable combination of people in the long term. So then, maybe they let Tuchel have a little bit more control depending how this season goes. I think Neymar makes more sense for Real Madrid, arguably, than Hazard, because Hazard doesn't address your problem of replacing Ronaldo's goals. at all. I don't get me wrong. In a more attacking system, he'll score more goals and he'll get more assists. But he has never been a particularly prolific player. He's always benefited from taking penalties. I think that they actually do need somebody who's going to be an out-and-out goal scorer. So if they get Hazard, I don't think that's their business done. They have to get someone else. Whereas arguably you could say that Neymar could solve the problem kind of on his own. He's one of the few true Galacticos, as in the actual top level of players who can pretty much fix an attack all by themselves.
Hazard's biggest problem as well, though, is that he isn't selfish like Neymar, as you said. Like, I'm pretty sure that Hazard said he wouldn't want to win the Ballon d'Or. He doesn't want to win the Ballon d'Or. He just wants to have fun on the pitch.
Yeah, he's not a black hole.
He's very much a team player rather than Neymar wants to be the star man all the time. And that's why I kind of feel like Real Madrid wouldn't suit him as well in terms of his personality. He's not going to be the Ronaldo. He's not going to be H10 of Real Madrid, is he?
I'm not sure. I think he might have said that because I remember watching that interview, and it was because of the competition around him, and he said that I think he also said he wanted to retire at 32 in that same interview. So I think people were questioning his kind of his determination to reach Ronaldo and Messi levels, and he was kind of conceding that he might never get there. I think that's what he was saying. I don't think he would ever count himself out of a Ballon d'Or, but I mean, like you said, Neymar, third joint top goal scorer in Liga in last season, 13 assists as well, getting a goal a game. But does that happen in La Liga if he's playing in kind of Lopetegui's 4-3-3? It still doesn't fix the spearhead, the number 9 issue, does it, at Real Madrid? And do you honestly see at PSG a better chance of winning the Champions League under Tuchel than under Unai Emery this season?
Yeah.
Do you think their chances are significantly improved?
Yeah, I do. I think that Tuchel is an extremely able tactician, and he oversaw a pretty hefty improvement in Borussia Dortmund. Now, partially that was because they had a weird year under Klopp where they underperformed relative to their expected goals and expected points. But he's very, very good at putting teams into a formation which will particularly maximise their attacking output. And I think they'll be able to outshoot pretty much any team in the world. I mean, Real Madrid have obviously lost Ronaldo. Barcelona, I still think, are trying to figure out what they're going to be. Man City, in the Champions League, they're a little bit of a crapshoot. You have no idea what's going to come up. So I don't know. I think, I do trust that Tuchel will do a better job than Emery, particularly in attack. He's a far more sophisticated coach, and just having them be more proactive in games, I think, will make a big difference. The question is whether Neymar is going to commit to the pressing. Cavani definitely will. Mbappe definitely will. But Neymar's a bit of a black hole for possession. When you have a guy like that in your attack, they will demand the ball all the time and they'll get it all the time. And it was a problem for Brazil against Belgium at the World Cup, right? Neymar just demands the ball again and again and again. It makes you quite predictable, especially if he's having an off night.
Yeah. I
think you need to have a plan B, and Tuchel will have that.
And you also lose that shape, don't you, when Neymar drops and he drops and he drops to receive the ball. We did see that against Brazil, and Tuchel was very kind of shape orientated, isn't he?
Yeah.
I also think an interesting question is who else is he going to buy to facilitate his system at PSG? Because when he came in, he said that the fullbacks weren't good enough, which was a little bit not shocking to me because I've never rated Cazorla that highly, but Thomas Meunier I think's had a very good World Cup, and maybe he'll take a second look at him. But Zach, can you see Thomas Tuchel conducting any more business before the end of the transfer window? You see any high-profile signings coming in? I mean, they do need to sell.
They have been, there's been reports on a lot of their players going.
But
I think possibly another midfielder, especially if Pastore was to leave, and I've also heard rumours about another midfielder. I can't quite remember his name.
Angel Di Maria leaving?
Yeah, Angel Di Maria.
Pastore has gone to Roma. Verratti's been put on a special fitness regimen to kind of get him up to speed. But Verratti feels like a kind of natural, viable like replacement, right? A higher caliber one, you'd argue.
Well, the thing with me and Thomas Tuchel is, do you not think it is a big jump to go from Borussia Dortmund to PSG, where at Dortmund there wasn't necessarily, when I say bigger names, I mean big personalities, to here going to PSG where the dressing room is filled with personalities, and Neymar being the biggest one?
Yeah, I think that's a decent observation. That's going to be the biggest culture change for Thomas Tuchel, isn't it? Managing superstars. But then he had Aubameyang. I think he didn't get Lewandowski, did he? That was Jurgen Klopp. I mean, a lot of these stars are very young as well. Neymar is, interestingly, kind of the outlier in that equation, isn't he? Cavani never really thrown around his star, so to speak, has he? A bit of a team player.
Buffon as well, now they've got.
Buffon, consummate professional. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how he kind of gels that all together. I think they're probably going to win the league at a canter again, especially if Fekir does go to Liverpool, because that move's been reignited, hasn't it? That'd be interesting to observe. Marseille, have they made any moves in the transfer market? I'm quite surprised that no one's come in for Thauvin, because he was involved in more goals than Neymar in the last campaign, despite Marseille finishing fourth. He had an outstanding campaign, didn't he? So did Dimi Payet. I like some of their... Sarr, is it their left back or right back?
I just saw links to
there's Melon Sarr at Nice. I mean, Ng had a very good season.
Clinton and G.
Anguissa, their defensive midfielder, is certainly a very good player. So I don't know, but Monaco are obviously like the chief threats. Like Monaco were probably the most consistent team in Ligue 1 last season after PSG. And given the turnover in that squad, to come second again is pretty amazing, really. Yeah, the Champions League, if they get a favourable draw, if they got, say, the draw that Liverpool got this season, then, feasibly they could do it. They could certainly get to a final, and at that point, kind of all bets are off, because they've got the individual talent to beat anyone.
Yeah, 100%. Zach, PSG for the Champions League? Do you think they can finally get past the quarterfinals?
Depending on who they drew against, but yeah, why not? Go on, PSG, you can do it. I believe in you.
And do we all agree, just to go back to the question, that Neymar will eventually move to Real Madrid?
He'll move to a club. I don't necessarily think Real Madrid, but he will definitely move. There's no way he finishes his career at PSG.
I think he can only move to Real Madrid. That's right.
I don't know. I don't really care about Neymar. I don't really find him that interesting. If I were Real Madrid, I would want Mbappe more.
Noodlehead. Yeah, Kylian. I mean, he's 7 years his junior, and you're probably going to pay the same amount of money for them. Probably go for Mbappe, Real Madrid. Would you go for Mbappe or Neymar at Real Madrid? Let us know in the comments below. Moving on to the next question. Next question comes from @JStikas, and he said, considering Chelsea don't have European football to worry about, are they serious contenders for the league? Now, Sarri's on board. They've signed Jorginho for 57 million on a 5-year contract. That was a bit of a coup, wasn't it?
Bring it on, hijacked.
Kind of snapped him up from under Pep Guardiola's nose. And there is a positive mood. There's a buoyant mood around Stamford Bridge. Patrick Van Straaten, what do you think to the question first and foremost? Because we've both said we can see Chelsea missing out on Champions League football, which is not in line with what @JStikas thinks.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't mean that it's not possible that they go ahead and win the league. Obviously, they won't have the pressures of the kind of schedule to deal with, so that'll be helpful. I do think there's surgery that needs to be done to the squad, but Sarri seems like quite a good fit for them in the sense that he said, I'm not really interested in comings and goings, I just want to get the squad I have and improve the players. So that's quite good, because Granovskaya is going to pretty much decide who comes in and goes out of the club. They've still got excellent players. If they lose Hazard, then it's a real problem. Then they need to do a lot of surgery. But if they keep him, and I think they should try and keep him this year, because I think it'd be amazing to see what he'd be like under Sarri, then yeah, it's entirely possible. I don't think it's necessarily the most likely thing, but of course it could happen. We saw it happen with Conte, though Conte had previous, when he took over Juve, I think they had something like a 25-point bump in his first season, and that obviously resulted in them winning the title. Sarri doesn't have quite the same thing. I think they'll get better and better over time as they get more into his style. I don't think they're going to be playing, the amazing football we saw Napoli playing immediately. It's going to take a while to get into that. But yeah. I don't know. I think these things bounce around, and Chelsea, just because they drop out of the Champions League one season, obviously still have an excellent squad. Yeah.
Despite adding Jorginho, I actually read an interview recently where Sarri has said that there is still a pinch of quality lacking from central midfield, and that has led to many media outlets assuming that he's going to axe Bakayoko, and Bakayoko doesn't actually strike me as a very Sarri sort of player. So rumour has it they may add Vidal to their ranks, who has fallen out of favour at Bayern Munchen. Zach, would you take him? Chelsea?
Every day of the week. I think I've actually heard rumours that Bakayoko, I think we're willing to sell him for 40 mil. Which it feels harsh.
Willing to sell him for 40 mil. If you got 40 mil from him given the season you just had, I'd snap their
literally, I feel bad for him because I do think there's talent there. I just don't. I just think he's had a bad season, to be honest. That's it. Yeah. There is talent, and he's shown that at Monaco. I think the squad we've got with Sarri is interesting. I think you're right, Pato. We obviously won't be playing the amazing football Napoli are playing like 3 weeks. It will take months. And I think as a Chelsea fan, if we can even reach top 4 and play by the end of the season like decent attacking football that you actually enjoy watching for once, I'm more than happy with that. I'm more than happy. And I think the squad we've got, I think there does need to be a few more signings. I think he actually said in his first press conference with Chelsea that he wants another centre half. He doesn't actually think Christensen right now can do the same role that Koulibaly was doing, which actually kind of worried me because I thought he could eventually.
So pushing Azpilicueta back out to right back,
Azpilicueta back onto right back, Rudiger and Christensen in the middle, and then Emerson or potentially Marcos Alonso on the left back position. And I think we've got the squad there. I actually really want to see Ruben Loftus-Cheek get a starting role this season. I thought he was very good for England when he had his chances.
He did actually make some promising sounds about Ruben Loftus-Cheek's future. He said that, I think it was actually a conversation happened about Gary Cahill and if he would be sold to Manchester United or not. And he actually said, I think it's important that we have English players at our club. We've seen Juventus when there was, I think they won Serie A with 7 Italians at the club, and he said that's kind of very important that we have homegrown players. So the right sort of noises.
Because he also mentioned in that same, I think in the same interview as well, that I think it was like, what do you think about the ages? And he said that Juventus won it obviously with an experienced side, and he wouldn't mind having an experienced side.
He wasn't bothered about the average age, was he?
I think things are going to be very interesting this season. It's going 2 ways, amazingly, and we all watch Chelsea play really well and actually enjoyable football, or he's gone by January. And I wouldn't be that surprised either or. I actually do think as well, Kante is about to have his best season. Yeah. I think he's going to play really well. I think
a lot of responsibility on his shoulders.
I think it's going to be Jorginho in the middle, Kante on the right, and then Ruben Loftus-Cheek on the left. Because at Napoli, we saw him essentially like to play more football down the left, and the right was more, didn't receive the ball as much.
I think he's going to be freer than he's ever been before, right? With Jorginho next to him. That's the first time he's played next to someone who's also a defensive powerhouse. Like, it will actually allow him to do his ball progression stuff, which has massively improved over the last couple of seasons. And I think you often want him to be free. There were times at the World Cup where France played Pogba in a kind of reserved role, so Kante could be the free player. And I'm kind of on board with that. He's so good at breaking the lines with his running, and just great at, I don't know, his reading of the game is staggering, really.
Well, last season he was like switching play from obviously like say the right to the left onto Hazard and straight away from a counter attack, which you'd never seen him do it.
His passings come on leaps and bounds.
Yeah. You don't want to see Kante be the controller on his side, because then his energy is wasted if he's operating outside his penalty box, which is where Jorginho is going to be, right? But I'm actually excited to see how Morata develops under Sarri, because I hope that he gets a lot more joy. Obviously, only 11 goals last season, really suffered in the second half of the season. I hope he gets a lot more joy when the wider men are playing a little bit more closely to him, let's say. It's similar to that Insigne, Higuain and Callejon system, say, that Sarri got a lot of joy out of at Napoli. So I hope that maybe Eden Hazard isn't as reserved as he was in the Conte system. And, I mean, who would play right wing? You're hoping Ruben Loftus-Cheek?
Well, I don't know. I think Ruben Loftus-Cheek...
Pedro at the club.
I think Pedro's too old. I think Ruben Loftus-Cheek's going to be playing in the middle, in the three-man midfield. I think, you know what, I actually think Willian would be great, but I don't think he's going to be here by the end of the transfer window.
Of course.
I really think he's going to go off to
£58 million bid from Barca, right?
Yeah, if people are going to pay that money.
Exactly. I don't know why we've not accepted that already, to be honest. That's a lot of money for someone who is 30 or turning 30 this year. Something I think is getting on.
Yeah.
And I think 60 million Willian, and then we can buy maybe a younger midfield. I actually saw us linked to Pulisic, which I thought would be really interesting.
That would be interesting.
I think Golovin's a more realistic
target. He also seems to be, I think he's days away, or like 48 hours away from signing for Chelsea.
It's my understanding if you played a 4-3-3 that Golovin would be in that on the left-hand side of that midfield pairing in a lineup that I saw on Twitter that was fairly realistic. So it's like a Golovin, Jorginho, Kante midfield 3.
I just don't think then...
You don't solve your right wing position with bringing Golovin in.
Well, I really want Ruben Loftus-Cheek to start, and I don't think you could put him on the right wing at all.
No.
I don't think that he'll fit. I think it'll do detriment.
He played well wide left for Crystal Palace last season, didn't he? But he was a little bit more reserved. He wasn't like an out-and-out winger, was he?
I think you need somebody who... I mean, Pedro could feasibly do that role a little bit, but realistically, you want a Callejon or actually a Heung-min Son type. That's kind of who you want. That guy who's almost... Who's got the pace to play wide, but really is a second striker. I mean, the thing is, Batshuayi's played wide. we could easily see him drafted into that role. Tammy Abraham's very fast as well. That would be interesting.
Tammy Abraham.
Well, that's just another issue on like how many players are going to go on loan.
But also this Higuain thing. Like it's weird that there are these persistent rumours about Higuain, given that Chelsea have as deep a roster of centre forwards as any club in the world. Like you go Morata, Batshuayi, Tammy Abraham. 2 of those are already fantastic. One of them looks like he probably will be. I think Morata will be really good under Sarri because his link-up play is fantastic. He can dribble. He's phenomenal in the air. And actually, I think the Mertens thing has been a bit of a red herring for people. Like they think that Sarri just prefers like these tiny guys up front, but obviously Higuain's a big guy, and he bought in Arkadiusz Milik, who is a big target man as well. So Morata is kind of the best of that type, I think.
Yeah, Mertens was a quick fix that just banged, wasn't it? He just popped. And I mean, that Callejon role at Napoli is interesting because he's a little bit maligned, isn't he? A lot of Napoli fans see him as the sort of weak link in that front three, but I saw a bit of analysis, it might have been from the guys over at StatsBomb actually, about just his running on the right-hand side and how he's very similar to Pep Guardiola Sarri and how he likes to overload one wing to either free up a fullback or a midfielder who can then subsequently put a cross in on the other side and look to pick up that rebound. And that's where the similarities lie, kind of with Sarri, I suppose, in Manchester City. It will be fascinating. I think you're probably going to sign Regani.
I've heard 45 million.
Yeah, for 44 mil.
That's probably a Rudiger upgrade.
There's also the keeper situation, which is worrying as well.
I don't think that's a big
Have you
issue.
seen that photo of Peter Cech
my
pre-season? What has Unai Emery been feeding the man? He looks colossus.
He's the Hulk right now. I've never seen it.
Unless he's just wearing an extra small shirt. It's like you in that Columbia top in Education Jello. Just clinging to you. But should we move on to the third question? We've been talking about Chelsea for ages, haven't we? Quick fire questions time. First question's from @Rosh Harvey, and he's asked, what player do you want to see join a certain club, starting with you, Z-Money, on the end?
I would like to see Martial leave Manchester United. Basically, to see him become the beautiful butterfly that he really is. I think he could fit Arsenal. I think he could fit Spurs. I think Juve's not the worst shout. Atletico Madrid's not the worst shout.
That'd be amazing. That'd be amazing.
Do you think he'd fit in well at Atletico Madrid, Pato? In the same way that Lamar probably will fit in really well?
Yeah, I think Lamar's probably going to play off the wing, and I think they combine really well on the counter attack. He's very fast. He can obviously play on the wing. He can play as a centre forward. Diego Costa's getting no younger. That would safeguard the future of their attack for a while. That would be fun. He wouldn't be bad in that Chelsea role though. If we're talking about that striker who arrives at the back stick. Kingsley Coman to Arsenal, I think would be fun for me.
Took the words out of my mouth.
Be great to watch.
£45 million
Something
move.
like that. I don't think it will happen, but it would be
like
super
a
fun.
bargain for Kingsley Coman, if that's the sort of fee being banded about. He must be spitting he wasn't part of the World Cup squad.
Well,
him and Martial.
He's barely played minutes over the last few seasons. I think he's played something like a third of the available minutes. But
especially with Robin and Ribery signing another year extension, he must be like, when are these guys retire?
Yeah.
Isn't Ribery 37? Next question then. @MikeQuara20 has asked, who has earned a transfer after the World Cup? This is a hard question, isn't it? Because scouting networks, more sophisticated than ever, we're pretty clued on to most people, other than like Fagner, who got selected for Brazil. I still don't know who the that guy is. So, did anyone take you by surprise?
Benjamin Pavard? I thought he was kind of a name that no one
Stuttgart.
really knew too much about, and then had an insane World Cup. That goal was phenomenal.
That's a really good
His
shout.
defending, his attacking were both really good. I think I've actually seen links to Bayern Munich.
I think his move's wrapped up, actually. I think his move's wrapped up for about 35 million euros to join next summer.
It's annoying, isn't it? They just get all the talent in the Bundesliga.
But again, he didn't earn that move at the World Cup, right? Because at the World Cup he's playing right back, and they're going to sign him as a centre back, which is where he played for the whole season. I mean, I kind of don't really grant the premise of the question. I don't think anyone ever earns a move at the World Cup, or I don't think they should.
Rodriguez.
I think you should earn the move over the course of the season before. And look, it can make you take a look at that player, and then you look at how they've been the year before. But I don't know. I think sometimes in the past people did just get signed off the back of a decent World Cup.
Well, Golovin. I 100% think it's because of the World Cup. I don't necessarily feel
it was rumoured. It was rumoured.
Trippier's stock will never be higher than it is right now.
That's a good point.
And Manchester United need a right back, don't they? A long-term heir to Valencia, although they've signed
Well,
Dalot, right?
he's getting. I
and
think
Dalot
Tripper's quite old.
is a right back, and apparently Mourinho said he was going to play 50 games next season, although he's now injured till September, so probably not going to pan out. Next question from Gunnosaurus, the Gunnosaurus. Only one N though. So, and he's asked, what league position and/or cup win would you consider a success for your club this season?
Interesting.
No one cares about Celtic, so take it away, guys.
I mean, if they don't finish first, it'll be a disgrace.
Well,
They should disband.
Adam Rooney. Aberdeen's Adam Rooney has just joined Salford.
I was about to say, who the fuck is that?
That's the level the SPL are operating at. Yeah, one of the top goal scorers in the SPFL. Go on then, lads.
Top 4, I'd be more than happy with. Top 4, no cups, I'm more than happy with.
Yeah.
More than happy.
Top 4 and a cup
No
for
cups.
Chelsea.
I'd take no cups, I'll be honest.
I just think, top 4 for Chelsea would
Literally.
be a progress.
4, I'd be amazing.
TVS?
Same. Fourth would be fantastic. Fifth would be fine, but I wouldn't really consider it a success. I'd consider it just the same thing. But fourth would be surprisingly good.
I think Spurs are the barometer right now. I think Spurs are the 4th place club.
I'd say
For
the
me.
third.
Really, I'd go City, Liverpool, Man United. And then I think 4th is up for grabs, but Spurs have the continuity, they have the settled squad over your two clubs. But I feel like they feel the furthest away from making any meaningful first team signings. Is that it? No, one more question from Ali
Quick
Abdullah,
fire.
BHR. Which PL team on Euro Football Daily, thank you for this question, is going to be the most exciting to watch next season? Let's go European wide. Okay, which club are you excited to watch next season? You're the most excited I've ever seen you about, not full stop, just about a upcoming season. Why is that?
I just think there are loads of unknown quantities this season. Like Chelsea having an attacking manager. I can't remember the last time that was really the case. Maybe Ancelotti, you could argue.
Yeah.
Arsenal just will be different, which is welcome at this point. Atleti, I think, will be really fun this season. Atleti will be good to watch. I'll be intrigued
Has there ever
to see.
been a better chance for them to win the La Liga crown?
Not since they won it. And back then, you could argue that Real Madrid were extremely strong. But yeah, I think this will be their best shot for a while.
What about you, mate? Go on.
Juve with CR7, it's going to be
That is
mental.
That is a very good point.
Only in the Champions League, though. In the league, we assume they're just going to walk.
I just think
right?
he's going to score a stupid amount of goals. It's gonna be
Yeah, but you're not going to watch him play Sassuolo. You're going to watch him in
I'll
the
watch the
Champions
highlights
League.
instead.
Can you picture it, lads? PSG, Juventus, semi-final. Ronaldo scoring the goal
Against
that puts
Buffon.
PSG out. Buffon
Again.
just walking
Tears,
off
mate.
shirt over shoulder for one last time.
Lovely.
And then across Europe, who are we saying? I'm actually pretty excited to watch Lyon again. I think they've got a lot of burgeoning talent in that side. See how Aouar develops. See how who's the guy they bought from Real Madrid? Mariano Diaz develops, and to see if the Dutch maestro can maintain his form up top for them. Again, forgot his name. Depay, Memphis Depay. Memory not so good this morning. Anyone else
Real Madrid will be interesting.
before we wrap it up?
We have literally no idea what's going to go on with
Ronaldo,
Real
free
Madrid.
Madrid.
Maybe Asensio will step up. I thought Benzema was a little bit unlucky last season, but expected goals. He should have scored about 14, got 5 in the league.
Barcelona too.
Yeah, he'll be interesting. Yeah, but Barcelona, I'm always just a bit bored of Barcelona at the moment. Like I just want to watch Messi, and I don't know. It's getting the rest of that team. Apart from Umtiti's the only other one I really want to enjoy watching at the moment. I think Busquets is starting to decline, and I don't really want to watch that.
Let's end it on a personal question then, lads. Admiral Flap. Oh, what's the dumbest / worst thing you ever did in school?
Good God.
I imagine your rap sheet's pretty long, Zach.
Oh,
Bet
give me
you
a
were
minute.
right
Give me actually a minute.
attention
Jesus
whore, weren't you?
Christ the Lord.
I bet you were always sat at the front.
No,
underneath
I actually
the teacher's nose.
I actually had to sit at my
Same.
teacher's desk for a lot of lessons.
That's mental.
By the on the computer.
Van Straten, were you a well-behaved guy?
No, not really. I used to get moved a lot for talking. I sat on a table on my own for the entirety of GCSE
Yeah.
English.
There you go.
I didn't really work. I was very lazy. I coasted through school.
I don't believe that for a second.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I set fire to my friend Paul's chemistry book one time. It was like immaculate. It was the first day. It was the first day of term, and like I'd drawn all over mine, and he hadn't. He was being really smug about it. And he went off to get the equipment for an experiment, and foolishly brought back the Bunsen burner first. And when he turned around a couple of minutes later with the beakers, I was just holding his Hennessy glass. It was just flaming up to the
Like
ceiling.
Mad Max.
It's good. Mr. Max said had no
Mad
control.
Strats.
No control.
I don't know. One of my favourite stories from school that I can tell, I guess. It was way back in like year 6 or 7, and it was an accidental mic drop. My English teacher said something like, so, oh God, what was it now? The rod featured in a poem, and the rod was when the kids used to get the cane at school.
Yeah.
And she went, Chris, if you don't stop talking, I'm going to give you the rod.
And you've said it was a big joke.
Jesus Christ.
And I went, no, you can kiss the rod. That was the term.
Oh my God.
You can kiss the rod, as in get a rap on the
Yeah.
knuckles. And I went, Miss, you know what? You can kiss my rod. And then the whole class just went, hell. Like, Miss Smith was mental as well. My friend's got a week worth of detentions, you know, the week before for like pinging a bit of blue tack across the classroom. So I thought I was in for I thought, you know, she was going to stick the rod up my arse. Didn't happen. She actually found it quite funny, so got away with it. And that's all we have time for this.
That's a weird end to that
week.
story.
Didn't say
Yeah,
mine.
talk about rulers up bumholes.
Fine.
What else?
Didn't
Oh,
work. No,
I
it's
thought you'd
fine.
already told yours.
No,
Go on, mate,
no,
because
no, it's
you won't let me
fine.
hear the end of it if you don't. So
No,
before we go,
I actually have a lot. I was fine, kid, but you know, just got a bit bored. Drawing penises with weed spray / killer on the field, big ones.
Sure.
Wasn't the best one. It actually got to a point where on
wasn't the
Google-
best penis.
because it got to a point where on Google Images it would actually
Show up.
show you. And,
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
school weren't happy about that. There was a few. We once got a teacher fired for peanutting one of the students. So I was peanut my friend.
I mean, that teacher
came
got,
over,
that teacher
was like,
got themselves fired.
What are you doing? They peanutted me.
That's mental.
Oh God.
He peanutted you.
Where did you go to? Where did you go to school?
I'm not going to say it on camera,
Crawley.
but a boys' school, and it wasn't in Crawley.
Yeah, I
it was
went to a
somewhere.
boys' school as
But,
well.
yeah, there's a
Disaster.
few other things, but I don't think I want to say them out loud. I'll be honest.
Yeah,
Wow.
save them for another episode, Jelab. What should people do now that are watching the end of this episode? Which I've got to say, the quality started up here today, and then it's finished relatively poorly. But you know, if you want to see other shows that start well and finish poorly, then where should they go?
Transfer review with your two faces. Again, starts well, finishes poorly. Or head over to Football Daily where VFN should be live featuring my mug and Joe and Dave's. We were just well funny,
Yeah,
if you can tell.
weird that Joe's in goal review this week and then just wasn't here to film VFN. So,
Weird.
like 3 presenters on it. Enjoy.